I often wonder, are we too early to the market, or are we too late to the market? Because if you think about all these big players, people announcing all these different things, arguably we might be too late. On the other hand, maybe we're too early, and we're, using a surfing analogy, I mean, if we catch the wave at the wrong time, we could basically get into a lot of trouble. So on the question of it being too early, the electric vehicle actually is over 100 years old, and oddly enough, it was the dominant vehicle of its time. The thing that killed the electric vehicle, I mean, there were a few different things back then, but one was the electric starter, which basically made using gas vehicles a lot easier, a lot less dangerous as well, because there were instances where people were cranking up their cars and essentially having fires and all kinds of things happening. The steam engine vehicle at that time took 45 minutes to get the steam going, so that kind of knocked that out of competition. But the EVs were basically the big thing. But then what happened was that longer roads started getting built, and also the price of gasoline actually started dropping. And that was the real reason why the EV was kind of gaining traction in the early part of the century, of the 20th century and the late part of the 19th. But interestingly enough, we have the opposite problem today. I mean, if you look at what happened with gas prices in 2008, $147 a barrel for oil being the peak, and of course now those prices have come down. But if you look at the fact that once the economy starts moving forward again, granted we're not sure when that is, but nonetheless when it does, we all know that oil prices will go up again. And then if you think about issues related to peak oil, 10 years ago, if you mentioned the concept of peak oil to people, they probably would have laughed you out of the room, whereas now peak oil, even the US government is naming GAO reports peak oil the strategic dilemma and so forth, and it's become a very real thing. So we do have something different here, which I think suggests that companies like Phoenix are not too early, and there's a lot of room for us to go into this EV market and succeed. With respect to the lateness issue, because this is something we really worry about, because how quickly can we move, especially in this down economy? We have to be very conscious of our costs and how we move aggressively into different things. And there's constantly the assessment of, are we taking too much risk? Are we playing it too safe? And then you see this kind of race that's going on. And I think on this issue, the economic situation actually has kind of created an opening for us, because if you look at companies like Nissan, which are probably some of the strongest contenders for the EV market, they've been at that market for quite a bit of time, not necessarily releasing products, but nonetheless experimenting with EVs. But then you look at the unfortunate reality given the economy and the fact that they have to lay off 20,000 people. You look at the big three who are very capable and could do an electric vehicle. Sorry about that. I guess the big three didn't like me talking about them. As big of the plans that they might have with respect to GM's Volt, and now even Chrysler's getting in the game with various cars like the Dodge EV, which is based on a Lotus, similar to what Tesla did, they're going to be constrained from doing certain things as well. And at the end of the day, the big three, really what they're focused on is the consumer market. The fleet market just isn't big enough for them to deal with. And that creates an interesting opportunity for us, and it allows us to have a little more breathing room, which is great, and it basically lets us really test out our technologies and move into the market, I think, in a safer, lower risk fashion.